This is Mrs. Harrison, Head of Computer Science, and I'm going to be talking to you about GCSE Computer Science and why you should consider taking this as one of your options. So we're going to start with an intro into what the course is all about. So what is computer science? It is, in essence, the study of computers and computing and programming. So the topics that we would look at over the duration of the course are how computers work. So what are the actual parts inside a computer? What do each of them do? How do they talk to each other? We will look at how they store information. So how do they convert files and documents into a format that computers can understand. So I know in year 8 you've looked at binary, so you understand a part of that process already. How do they process information? So, when we are saving things or we're doing calculations or we're running programs, what are the different stages of that inside a computer? How do they, open a file for you? How do they save a file for you? How do they run a program? What are the different steps that it goes through? And we also look at writing our own computer software, writing our own programs and learning about the importance of testing them and making sure that they work properly and they are fit for their purpose. So the course is broadly separated into two main areas. We have component 1 and we have component 2. Component 1 is computer systems. So this is the unit where, as I said, we will be looking inside computers, learning how they work, learning about information, looking at things like networks and the internet and how they work and how we move information around the world from computer to computer. And the second component is algorithms and programming. So this is the unit where you start to look at problems, look at tasks, and learn how to analyze them and break them down and decide how we could write a program to solve this task for us or carry out the task for us. So there's lots of different steps in there. We look at breaking a task down, we look at putting together just written sets of instructions that will explain how the task is going to be solved, and then we start looking at how to actually use proper coding, proper programming language. In our case we use Python to build a program that would solve a problem or complete a task for us. So in computer systems we are going to look at processors, computer processors, the main part inside your computer, the brain as we've taught it to you before, the bit that does all the thinking. So how do processors work? What is their purpose? How do they communicate with all of the other parts of a computer? We're going to investigate computer memory and computer storage. So learn how files are stored on your computer, but learn about memory. So how your computer is able to manage lots of tasks at the same time. If you're at home and you've got the internet open, you've got PowerPoint open, you've got Word open, and you've maybe got your email open, how does your computer make sure that all of those tasks, all of those pieces of software that you're running are able to run properly? We're going to look at modern network layouts. So that could be a network, for example, inside a school or school network, or it could be a wider network like the internet. So as I said, we'll learn how they work and how they function. We are going to be looking a lot at cybersecurity, which is an absolutely massive field of computer science at the moment. So we need to learn the skills to make sure that we are using a computer safely, but that the data that we store on a computer is safe and protected as well. We're going to look at different types of software and how they are used within computer systems. So not just the kind of apps and programs that we run to do our general tasks, looking at things like device software and system software and security software in computers and fully understanding how they work and how they're run. And then from a different sort of social perspective, we look at the changes that have been made in society because we now use computers for so much. So we look at, whether there are any ethical, legal or cultural considerations that we need to make when we are, developing computer systems or, when we are replacing things that would normally have been done by a human with a computer. What kind of impact can they have? And obviously we look at environmental issues as well. Does the use of computers benefit the environment, or is it actually harming the environment that we're using computers so much? In algorithms and programming, just to break it down a little more, we study fundamental algorithms in computer science. So there are some essential ones we need to look at. We look at searching algorithms, we look at sorting algorithms. So we work out, when a computer is running a program, how it's actually broken that task down into parts. What are the different steps that it's going through? We build a firm foundation in programming techniques. So we actually teach you the fundamentals of programming. We don't just sit you down in front of the computer and get you to copy out code that we've written. We will teach you what the actual building blocks of computer, programming are, so that you are confident in writing your own programs. Before we are actually writing code, obviously we can't jump straight into that. We produce programs through diagrams, and this is an important step. If we're putting together a flowchart that shows how a problem can be solved, we're actually doing most of the thinking at this stage. And then when we go to actually write the code, we've done all of the thinking and all of the planning already, so it makes our coding a lot easier. We learn how important it is to test your programs thoroughly to make sure, A, that they do their job, and B, that they are resistant to misuse. So any program that you write, somebody can't use to, harm a computer or get information that they shouldn't have access to. We look at Boolean algebra. So that's the use of and or and not within computer programming. And this is something I know that you're familiar with because you have all just covered this in year 8. So we learn about that kind of the theory of the logic gates that you've looked at of and or and not, and how they are actually incorporated when you are planning and writing code. And we understand, again, something I know you're also familiar with, how we store data within computers in a binary form. And why we do that. So why is computer science, a great subject to choose? There is an absolutely huge gap in the employment market at the moment for people with good computing and cyber skills. So some of the careers you could look at are a computer programmer. We've got hardware engineer, network engineer. You could be a software developer, kind of general software. You could be a games designer. You could be a web developer. You can be a security analyst, so making sure that systems are safe. And you can also be a professional hacker. There are people who are paid a very substantial amount of money to actually deliberately try and hack into other people's systems. It's how people make sure that their system is safe. They will hire someone who is an expert at breaking into systems to try and break into theirs. So I know we all joke about hacking in lessons, but it is an actual job. So if you want to have a think about, whether your mind works in the right way, here's a sample programming challenge on the screen. So if we think about a simple piece of software, like a piece of software to change a password, could you write a set of instructions that helps a person change their password? So you don't have to write the code. You can just grab a piece of paper and write out what steps you think a computer would need to go through to carry out this task. So the rules would be that the password has to be at least 8 characters long. The password has to be a mixture of lowercase and uppercase characters. It has to be one that is different from their current password. And you can also add in the function where you have to make them enter their password twice, their new password twice, just to make sure they haven't made any typos in their password. So there's a little programming challenge, the kind of thing that we might look at in computer science. So you can have a go if you want of writing out a set of instructions to carry out that task. Imagine you were a computer. What steps would you need to go through? What would you need to check? What would you need to ask the user to help them set a password that met all of those criteria? So if you want to have a go at that and want me to check it over for you, you are welcome to write out some instructions and come and find me in the Heads of Learning office. Similarly, if you have any questions regarding computer science as an option, then please just come and find me and ask.